had a brilliant group of programmers that were helping me on other projects. And I asked them, hey, would you be able to put these codes automatically onto my locks for me, right? Just to make my life easier. Ever since I started the rental, I never wanted to be at the property to let someone in, right? I wanted the possibility that they could check in anytime they wanted. And another piece that was big for me was not leaving keys, like physical keys around. I heard horror stories of those being lost, keys being copied, all of these scary scenarios that I just didn't want to deal with.
Welcome to the Short-Term Rental Solutions Show. I'm your host, Christiane Crump. As a short-term rental host myself, I've decided to roll up my sleeves, make the calls, get educated, and take you with me. You and I are learning together as I have conversations with the innovators that are designing the solutions that are shaping our industry. I'm going to make sure you stay in the know, and we'll uncover the tools and strategies that will help you overcome obstacles, maximize revenue, and optimize your short-term rental business. So buckle up and let's jump in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Short-Term Rental Solutions. So today we have Bobby Varghese of Jervis Systems with us, and he is going to be talking with us about smart locks and property access and managing that. That's really his specialty and his wheelhouse, as it were. So Bobby, we always like to get a chance to get to know our guests a little bit at the beginning of the show. Maybe where you started in the short-term rental industry and how you ended up creating Jervis Systems. So again, welcome.
Thank you, Christiana, and I appreciate you having me on your show. So how I got into short-term rentals, I own a short-term rental even today in Ashburn, Virginia. I manage it myself. I do all of that myself. Jervis just started, I want to say the original automation started in 2017. It was a lot of work that we did for my property. I had a brilliant group of programmers that were helping me on other projects. And I asked them, hey, would you be able to put these codes automatically onto my locks for me, right? Just to make my life easier. Ever since I started the rental, I never wanted to be at the property to let someone in, right? I wanted the possibility that they could check in anytime they wanted. And another piece that was big for me was not leaving keys, like physical keys around. I heard horror stories of those being lost, keys being copied, all of these scary scenarios that I just didn't want to deal with. So I always installed these Schlage. I started out with the Schlage Sense locks, like the ones that use the wireless hubs. I didn't have the relationship with Schlage at the time, so I had some brilliant programmers that just figured out how to put the codes on there automatically, remove it automatically. And we were doing that for my guests since day one at my rental. And that's in 2017 when we started. And somehow other property managers found out about it, maybe through guests that stayed with me. And they were like, hey, do you give out codes like Bobby does or something like that? And so I had other property managers reach out to me on Airbnb. I've helped several over the years, like get set up on Airbnb. And so a couple asked me to manage their properties completely from like full property management. And that's a lot of work in itself. And I wasn't prepared for that. And so I was talking to my developers and like naively thinking years ago that, oh, we can create a platform and people can just sign up. And you live and learn and realize it's not that easy setting up like a software as a service, like SaaS platform. There's a lot that you learn along the way, a lot of relationships to be built along the way. But I was really naive and I thought I could just do this. But then you quickly learn that your quick way that the programmers figured it out for your property doesn't scale, right? You need these relationships with the lock vendors, the Schlages, the Yales, all these big companies, and you want direct official connections, official API connections to them. So that's kind of how it started. So I started serving a few local property managers, and then it's kept growing little by little. Initially, we didn't even have a website, or at least not the public Jervis.systems. That all came later, but we started helping local property managers, and then we kept growing, made a website, made a dashboard, made it look prettier and prettier as the years went on. Initially, it was a very basic site, but yeah, that's it there, Christiane.
Just evolving out of a personal need and
Exactly,
continuing to grow. And it sounds like kind of just organic growth, mostly just grassroots and word of mouth. Is that right?
Yeah, even today, I've advertised on one Facebook group. I have not done heavy Facebook advertisements, Google advertisements, because I want to be careful with those because I've seen friends and colleagues like with other businesses, you can throw tons of money into that. And if you don't have like a dedicated person that's watching those and shifting it. Anyway, bottom line, I don't do a lot of advertising. We are partnered with about 9 property management system
Mhm.
platforms now and more growing monthly. We plan to release like one a month, two a month if we can, but our customers come from there directly. Some find us on Google now because we do get enough people look at us that we are pretty high ranked when they start searching for certain key terms. But eventually, I do want to get into a little more targeted marketing, but I'm just going to be careful with that
Yeah.
initially.
No, that's great. That's great. And really, what's so helpful, you mentioned the connections with the property management software. So explain how that works and how that just ties in with Jervis.
Yes, exactly. So the property management systems do the bulk of the work that a lot of property managers are looking for. If you have one property, you can likely manage it all yourself, right? Meaning the adding the codes on the Schlage app itself or Yale or whichever vendor. You can do the communications between the different booking channels, whether it's Airbnb, VRBO, booking.com. But as you scale 2 properties, 3 properties, it starts to get much more challenging, right? Or just time. How can you be more and more efficient with time? So that's where the property management systems come. They do the integrated inbox. You
Yep.
can book on many different places, like or list your property on many different places, but you'll see all the communication with guests in one inbox. They'll
Yeah.
sync your calendars for you. So where Jervis integrates with these platforms is to provide the automation piece of it, the code generation. We will create a unique code per guest, per reservation, right? And then we'll store it with the PMS platform. So then you can use their messaging templates to let your guests know and say, hey, here is your door code for your reservation. It'll last from check in until checkout. And you can kind of automate that process incredibly well with the PMS platform so that you can schedule it to go one day before check in or whatever your style of property management is
Right.
and let your guests know. But yeah, that's where we have a tight integration with all the PMS platforms that we use, where we store the code. And you can use the PMS platform's door code variable to dynamically inject that code into the message right before it goes out to the guest.
Yeah. So, like you said, it's completely automated. And once you've connected and got it set up, it sounds like you have your lock, you connect your lock to Jervis, and then Jervis connects to the software. That's kind of the flow of information. Is that right?
Actually, it's connecting to the PMS platform is first, meaning
Okay.
that the properties are all set up on the PMS platform, right? So that way
Mhm.
we save you a little bit of trouble of ever setting up the properties with us because once the connection is made to the PMS platform, we can import in all of your properties. So
Mm,
all you have to do is just verify some details. We offer onboarding, free onboarding with all of our customers. So we go through and just say, hey, just make sure your check-in and check-out information is good. There's a couple of settings that we just kind of walk through,
mhm.
but the bulk of the details are imported automatically for you. The second step is to connect your device account, whether it's a smart lock, smart garage doors, smart thermostats, and I'll talk more into those as we go here. But once you or connect those accounts and those devices get imported into Jervis, you can say, okay, I want device A to be associated with property A, right? And then once that connection is made, now Jervis knows, okay, a reservation came in for this property. I need to put door codes on this lock, right? So that's how that association is made on the Jervis side. And then once those two pieces are done, your property is set up, your device is set up, Jervis knows that, okay, your account is good to go. We're just going to automatically start to pull in reservations and process them. And if you get a new reservation, we'll just take it and run with it as well.
Yeah, it's just completely automated. So you mentioned just briefly, it's more than just locks. So what else? Go ahead.
So exactly, yeah. So we started with smart locks because that's what everyone wants. So we built a lot
Mhm.
of relationships with all the major smart lock companies that are out there. But then access goes past just smart locks, right? So there's a lot of garage door opener companies. anything LiftMaster, Chamberlain, anything that uses the MyQ technology, we support those. We support Genie, Aladdin, overhead doors. So all those garage door opener companies, property managers, or the value to property managers is that you don't have to give out the clickers when you go, when your guests come, right? So I deal
Right.
with this in my own property. It's not done on purpose. Sometimes guests misplace it. They might leave it in the rental car. I've dealt with so many different scenarios over the years that now I just don't give out the clickers anymore. They just get access to the Jervis Systems mobile app. You just click a button, open the door, close the door, right? And we made our app incredibly easy, so that way guests don't even have to remember a password to
Mm.
log into the app itself. As long as their phone number came through with the reservation, Jervis will automatically register them for access to the mobile app for the duration of the reservation. So they'll see the devices that you as a property manager want the guest to see for that reservation. And then after the reservation is over, the devices just disappear. And so they don't see it past that. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And then I remember I was looking, you have a few different like pathways that people can go, like an app, a text, email, let's see, a pin. Was that right? The four of them. So what's the
It is. Yeah.
breakdown between those and why would people choose one route or the other?
Okay. Yeah. So the majority of our users use the mobile app or PIN code. I'd say PIN code is the wide majority of users, because most property managers don't want to deal with other ways of access. They just want to give a PIN code to a guest, move on to the next reservation. Like, especially if you have multiple properties, it's just the easiest way to get a guest in and then just move on, right?
Mm.
The app is valuable if you're using multiple platforms or multiple devices, like the smart garages. Like I mentioned, I'm sorry, I didn't even go into thermostats. I'll go into that in a little bit here. But the app is valuable if you want to give access to multiple device sets, especially from different vendors, right? So let's say you have a Schlage lock plus a MyQ enabled garage door
Mm.
plus a Nest thermostat, right? So that's where the app becomes really valuable. You don't have to give access in 3 different apps to your guests. Jervis just handles that all automatically for you and transparently for you. The other 2 access features, the texting and calling, it's one of the original features that we have used, and it's valuable for like real estate agents or someone that just doesn't want to download an app. They don't want to deal with the PIN code. They may be going into a property quickly and they don't have time to create a PIN code. If
Mm.
that access is created, they can just text a number that we assign or call it, and then they just press 1 to open a door or text a number to get into a door. I'm oversimplifying it tremendously. We do have some security verifications and things like that, but that's the basic gist of it. So the majority of property managers for short-term rentals use the set pin capability, and then the simple entry technology set app. So real estate agents, property management teams, are the ones that use the texting and the call capability.
Okay, cool. Go ahead. Let's circle back to the thermostats.
Sure. Yeah. So the thermostats, again, this came from customers requesting it over the years, right? So
Yeah.
that's the way Jervis has always evolved, is just customers requesting certain capabilities or just certain devices to integrate with. But thermostats came as a need from property managers saying, hey, is there a way to control the temperatures for the home? Let's say right before a guest checks in, I want to set a temperature. Okay. And also when the guest checks out, I want the temperature to be a certain temperature so that in the summertime, I don't have the AC blasting, or in the wintertime, I don't have the
Right.
heat on too high, right? I mean, you can do this all on these smart thermostats if you use the Nest app, the Ecobee app, Honeywell app. I mean, we're very transparent with the property managers.
Yeah.
Where Jervis comes in and is valuable is that we just automate it. You don't ever have to touch your phone. You don't have to deal with scheduling on the apps itself. Jervis will just take care of that automatically for you. We have 2 modes with the thermostats. We have a guest mode. That's that baseline temperature that I mentioned. Right
Mhm.
before a guest checks in, you can say, hey, I want this temperature before every guest checks in. So 65 degrees, 68 degrees, whatever you're comfortable with, that's the temperature that the guest is going to walk into the property at. You can also say, I want this to start getting to that temperature up to 6 hours before, right? So the bigger the
Yeah,
property, it takes longer to heat or cool. So
I can
Jervis will,
relate to that.
yep,
We have a mountain property, and in the winter and it's funny because we've got some mattresses that have, like, a foam component. Lots of mattresses have the layers, and
right, right,
one of
yep,
them is like a memory foam layer, and I'm telling you, memory foam, when it's cold, is like a brick.
it's
And
very,
so
very
we
cool.
personally experienced coming to the property when it was cold, and those
Mhm.
beds were just hard as a rock. So ever since then, I've always known that when we have guests coming to that particular property in the winter, I have to start warming the house literally 6 to 8 hours in advance to
Yep.
make sure that all of those surfaces are fully warmed. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
a great feature.
Christiane, you're not alone. Like I've dealt at my house and other property managers, and it varies on the size of the house, right? Sometimes it may take only an hour, like a one bedroom apartment or something like that. So we
Mhm.
give those different options. And when a guest checks out, you can say, do the same thing, 1 hour to 6 hours, and say, I wanted to go into this vacant mode where the temperature goes much higher or lower to you to what you're comfortable with so that the AC doesn't kick off too much or the heating doesn't kick off too much. That threshold of 1 hour to 6 hours is, so let's say your cleaning company, it comes right after the guest checks out. You don't want it to go into that vacant mode just too
Mhm.
early, right? Because you want your cleaning company to be comfortable while they're in the house as well. So we give a lot more control to property managers with that. We've got a bunch of features coming with that. And again, it's like when we release something, we'll always have property managers email us and say, I love this feature, but I really wish you had this, and I wish you had this. So we'll add it to our queue, our ticketing queue, and just rack and stack it and go from there.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and probably just along that's probably how that QR code generator feature came along, which was kind of just tucked in there as something that you guys can offer, right?
Yeah, so this came as I think it was a property manager asked a question, and one of my developers was like, "Oh, we could do that," and he just like did it really quickly, and I was like, "Wow, I'm impressed." But I mean, he did the work, so I was like, "Might as well just put it out there in case anybody else wants it." The property manager was very happy. We just put it on our public site and inside our dashboard. So the QR code, what does that mean? The Wi-Fi QR code. This is like
Right.
if you go to Starbucks or rental properties nowadays, you might see a QR code that says scan me, and automatically it'll put your phone or your iPad or your laptop directly on the Wi-Fi, right? So the QR code will embed the SSID, the Wi-Fi name itself, and the password. And all you have to do is just click, yeah, I agree, I accept, and it'll log you in. So we allow all those configurations. You can say what your Wi-Fi network name is, your password is. We don't store any of that. We don't keep any of that details. Once you generate it, it's there. If you refresh the page, it's going to go away. And so you'll have to keep that QR code for the future. But it'll allow you to buy these frames on Amazon or Target or anywhere. And you can just put a little frame for your guests to come in and be able to get online very quickly. So that's kind of how that came about.
Yeah, quickly and easily. So think of the spectrum of operators, the person
Mhm.
who has maybe one or two properties, all the way up to the scaled property management company. Where does Jervis serve along that? Is there a sweet spot or a particular place along that spectrum that really fits well?
So that's a good question, Christiana. When I was looking at platforms and all this stuff a long time ago, it was just frustrating to me that hey, I had to have 10 properties or something to just to get in or even to try the features, right? So I did not ever want that with Jervis. We treat all property managers the same, whether you have one property, 100 properties, or 1,000 properties, right? So it's all the same as far as like getting onboarded, set up. The process is all the same. The steps are the same. We support everybody. And so whether you have, whether it's like a single family home, a condo, apartments, we have users in all of those scenarios. And the way it differs as far as the implementation goes is that a single family home may just have one lock, maybe the front door, but also some of these single family homes may have a front door, a garage door, a deck door, right? Multiple doors. I mean, and some property managers have every door in the house enabled as a smart lock, right? So
Mhm.
There's that scenario, but then there's also multifamily units, whether it's condo buildings, apartments, hotels, or boutique hotels,
Yeah.
where you may have the front door, which is like a common shared door with everybody. And then
Mhm.
each of the units might have its own smart lock, right? So the way Jervis will process that is that if a reservation comes in for those boutique hotels, as an example, we will put the same code for that reservation on that front door and that individual unit. And then when the reservation is complete, we'll remove the code, right? So to answer your question, we handle all the scenarios that are out there. There
Yeah.
hasn't been that we've run across that we haven't handled. If not, we usually it's if it's not something we supported right away at the time, we'll put it in, discuss it with our developers, and then usually we can fit the use case that a property manager needs.
Yeah. Well, the boutique hotel and kind of multiple units within a property is definitely gaining traction. So it's good to
It
know
is
that's something that you guys can support.
definitely,
Does
yep.
someone have to have a property management software in order to use Jervis, or can people who, are just kind of running bare bones still use Jervis?
So right now we do require a property management system. Later this summer, we're going to allow you to add properties manually.
Okay.
And even later down the road, or sometime in the summer, I'm hoping we have a direct relationship with Airbnb, VRBO. We're talking with them actively now. So
Mm,
that way we get a lot of requests, whether it's through social media or direct emails, where a property manager only has one property or two properties. And they're doing it entirely on their own. They're retired, or this is just for fun for them. And they don't necessarily
yeah.
want or need a property management system platform, right? So we want to get to that point where we can support those use cases. We do want, I think, versus manually adding a property, the integrations with Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com will be far more valuable because we'll be able to automate the reservations that come in. And that's where the value comes in, where
Right.
someone doesn't have to hand jam any of these details, right? But yeah, right now the PMS platform is required, but by the summer you can add manual properties, and then later this year, I'm hoping to have the direct relationships with Airbnb at that point and all the other companies that are out there.
That's
Yeah,
great. Well, I'm sure a lot of people will be interested to see that come online. So, given your experience with a wide range, and Jervis really does integrate with a wide variety of smart locks and, like you said, thermostats and garage door openers. The investment of smart locks for a property, especially if you have multiple doors, it can get expensive really quick. So, what would be some tips that you would give people or things to look for in a lock that would really set them up for success? I don't know. Maybe you could even drop some names of particular brands that you've seen be reliable and successful.
sure. My recommendation is to get a directly Wi-Fi enabled locks. And this is just coming out of personal experience from my own rental property and also just dealing with property managers and just different troubleshooting scenarios over the years. But there are, like, I started out with the Schlage Sense locks, right? So they had the little Wi-Fi adapters that I had to plug into the wall. There would be times where the
Mhm.
Wi-Fi adapter either disconnected from Wi-Fi or power outage came through and that thing, I had to reconfigure it from scratch almost, it seemed. So the less moving parts, in my opinion, are just better. So if you get a lock that is automatically just directly Wi-Fi capable, it's all built into the lock, it'll just save you a ton of heartache, in my opinion, in the long run. So the locks that I recommend is the Schlage Encode Plus. The Yale has an Assure 2 with Wi-Fi. It's like a Wi-Fi module that goes into it. But there's also
Mhm.
a lot of newer brands that are coming out. Dormakaba has a Saffire EVO lock, which I highly recommend. It's got battery life of anywhere from 12 to 14 months, which is tremendously
Oh,
higher
wow.
than some of the locks I've seen so far. So those are
And it
my
has the
top two.
Wi-Fi in it?
It does, yeah. It has Wi-Fi built into it. It's a very solid built lock. I actually have one here as like one of our integration locks, but it's solid metal, you can see, and
Yeah.
it's also uses like a hex key to put in the battery, or to replace the battery, you have to unscrew a hex key, which is one of the things I really like about it, because I've had this happen in my own rental where a guest just unplugged or just took off the little slot for the battery, right? And then because they just didn't want to put the codes in
Mm.
going in and out. And I was like, okay, but you can't stop things like that unless you find out about it later, right? But it's with something like this, like, it's rare that someone's going to be traveling around or go buy a hex key just to
Gotcha.
unscrew the battery, right? So things like that just makes it a very interesting lock. I've actually thought about just replacing my locks as well with something like this. And the battery life is something to look at as well, just because you're going through these AA batteries, 3 or 4 at a time, every 2, 3, 4 months. So those are the kind of things I would keep in mind. But if you stick with the 3 brands I mentioned, you won't go wrong.
Yeah. Well, and I remember doing a little research in the Dormakaba, or sometimes you'll just see it shortened to Kaba, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I think that those are specifically designed, particularly if you have like a coastal environment or whatnot, they're designed to be really hardy and hold up under some of those harsher environments. Is that right?
Yes. So Dormakaba, you can't buy it on Amazon. I mean, it could change. I don't see it on Home Depot, Lowe's. You can't just walk in and
Right.
purchase, right? So you'd have to talk to a sales rep, get it shipped. But you're completely right. A lot of times when you go to hotels or you go to certain like resorts, a lot of those like more commercial industrial locks are Dormakaba locks or brands like that. Salto is another brand that's much
Mhm.
more non-residential locks, but more commercial setting, hospitality space kind of locks. But they are also starting to make locks that are also geared towards the short-term rental market, long-term rental markets as well. So there is, since you brought up a great point, is there are different markets for these different companies, right? So like the Schlage codes are really meant for residential properties, right? It just blew up as a smart, like good lock for also short-term rental use. So a lot of property managers are using
Mhm.
it, but there's going to be a little bit of a price difference as well between residential locks versus commercial locks. But it's something to factor in when you're making your business decision is like, okay, some of the more commercial enterprise locks are going to cost a little more, but you may have to not have to change the battery so often, right? So over time, it will likely save you money. But again, it may not be worth it for you, for your property management scenario, to pay that extra 20, 30, 40% higher initially, right? So again, it's a business decision each property manager will have to make.
Yep. A cost benefit analysis for sure.
Definitely. Yep.
For sure. So, Bobby, I appreciate you have just really given us a ton of information here. Thank you so much. And I know that you and Jervis were willing to extend a special offer to listeners of the podcast today. Do you want to tell people about that?
We do, yeah. So we have a coupon code. It's SmartProp23, and it'll give 2 months for free to any of the SDR Hub, SDR Solutions podcast listeners. So feel free to use that. If you run into any issues, like I mentioned before, we offer free guides on our website to assist in the setup with screenshots and everything. But we also offer free onboarding, right? Whether you have one property or hundreds of properties, we're not going to be able to walk through every 100 properties through the 30-minute call, but we'll try to get you set up as quickly as possible. And you'll see once you do 1 or 2 properties, you'll see how quick and easy it is to do the setup process with Jervis. And then you'll be able to get up and running. So if you run into any issues, we've got troubleshooting sessions available as well. But for the most part, the goal is that you set it and forget it. And we'll report if the battery is running low, if we can't connect to your device for some reason and it's affecting a reservation. Jervis will keep in touch and let you know for things like that as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's really great. One of the also the things that I love about you guys is you're very transparent in your pricing. So anyone can go directly to Jervis's website and see exactly, do the mental math and figure out how many smart devices or whatnot you have. And you'll be able to know right then and there what it's going to look like from a cost perspective to start utilizing the Jervis system. So that's extremely helpful as well.
So yeah, just like about limits of how many properties, whether you have one or 100 or hundreds, you can sign up with Jervis. We want it to be very transparent with our pricing. We're very competitive with the market that's out there. So like you said, you can see very quickly, there's no hidden costs, there's no onboarding fee, there's no fees or any gotchas, I guess you can say with what we
Yeah.
offer. We're very transparent with that as well. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. What were you saying?
Yeah.
What were you asking?
Well, I was just going to say, go ahead and tell people how they can find you guys.
Yes. So our website is www.jervis.systems. There's no .com at the end. I've had customers put that at the end. So it's just jervis.systems with or without the www. That's the best way to reach us. You'll find all of our supported devices, the property management system companies that we partnered with, ways to contact us, free trial information, all of that is directly accessible on our website.
Yep. And we also have worked with Jervis Systems to bring a lot of that, well, all of that information into STR Hub. So as you're there on STR Hub in Smart Home Solutions, and then I think you're also listed in the Smart Lock section. So twice there, people can go in and find information as well about Jervis Systems. So we are going to wrap up the audio podcast portion of this episode. And I love to do this sometimes, but Bobby has agreed to stay on. And so we're going to go ahead and thank our listeners who have joined us today. But if you want to follow us over to YouTube, or if you're already there, just stick with us. I'm going to turn the screen over to Bobby, and he's actually going to take us into the Jervis Systems platform and give us a little bit of an idea of what that looks like from an operational perspective. Just a minute or two, a quick sneak peek. But thank you so much for joining us today on the show. I certainly know that I learned a ton, and I hope that you did too. And definitely be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and join us on our next episode. Okay, Bobby, I'm going to let you go ahead and click that present button and
Okay.
take over here. Show us a little bit about Jervis. We'll give him just a minute to get that set up
Okay.
and running.
So let me know when you see my screen.
Yep, I can see it now. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. So this is Jervis's main dashboard. And so we'll show you the number of properties you have, number of devices. We don't charge per active properties. We charge based off the active devices. And as we discuss, all our pricing and all that is on our website. There's two features that I want to show here. So let's go to devices. And one is the thermostat capability. So this is one of our test accounts. I've got some garage doors connected, Nest thermostats, and Schlage doors connected. But one of the features I would like to show is the thermostat. So I'm going to assign it to a device and then show how you would do the guest mode and the vacant mode settings.
Great.
So that, let's let that refresh there. Okay, so now it is assigned. Let's click on, let's go. You can either click on this incomplete details, click to edit, or just go to the operations menu and press edit there. So there's two modes, like I mentioned before, guest mode and vacant mode. So guest mode is where you're setting the settings, that baseline temperature that you want the guest to walk into. You can either set one of these. So let's say it's wintertime and you just want the heat turned on. You can say, okay, I want it to be 70 degrees or 68 degrees when the guest walks in. Same thing for wintertime. You can do in the summertime, you can do the same thing. I want it to be 68 degrees again when the guest walks in. You can turn both of these on. And what Jervis will do is turn on what's commonly like that seasonal temperature, which is the spring, fall temperature, where the thermostat will check the weather and then adjust the temperature accordingly, right? So you can adjust the temperature that you're comfortable with and adjust it accordingly, or you can just choose one of these and adjust it, or just keep that setting as well. So the check-in offset is what allows you to choose, okay, I want the temperature to start going to this at 3 hours before, or if you have a bigger property, you can say 5 or 6 hours before. Okay. The checkout offset is, okay, how many hours after a guest checks out do you want the temperature to adjust? So this is where you could say the cleaning company comes maybe half an hour or an hour after the guest checks out. They may take 3-4 hours to clean. So, okay, I only want the property to start setting this at 6 hours to give a little bit of buffer. The vacant mode allows you to say, okay, now when the guest is not there, I only want the property to start cooling if it gets to, let's say, 80 degrees, right? So you don't want the AC on too much, right? So it allows you to adjust those settings and have a lot more control over your HVAC unit when a guest walks in and when a guest is leaving.
That's great.
Okay, so let's save that. And then one other feature I do want to show is our Set app. So this is the web version of our mobile app capability. So you can use this from the web, or you can do this on the mobile app. If you use a mobile app, there's no passwords to remember. This is where I mentioned that as long as the phone number came in through the reservation, the guest, all they have to do is just type in or put in their phone number. Jervis will text them a one-time code. They log in. This is to verify that they're actually in possession of the phone, right? That was used with the reservation. Jervis will text them that one-time code. They put that in. They log in and see the devices that are assigned to your property that you want the guest to see for the duration of the reservation. From the web dashboard, be really careful. You press this button, the garage is going to open, the door is going to unlock. So be very careful there. But it gives tremendous control, especially for the garage doors. This is where a lot of property managers are really happy with this capability because they don't have to issue those clickers to the guest, right? Or leave them out for the guest. And they don't have to worry about anyone losing it, misplacing it. And so all the guest has to do is, as they're driving up to the property, just press the button to open the garage door. They're leaving for the day, hit a button to close the garage door. So this is one of the features I personally really love because I use it with my own rental pretty regularly myself and for my guests as well.
Yeah, well, and I could see myself using a feature like that. I have a property that has a sprinkler system. And so in the fall, I need someone to come blow it out. And in the spring, they've got to come set it all up. I could use
Yeah,
this feature like this just to let them get in the garage and access the sprinkler box and anything they need to. And I wouldn't have to give them any information other than, the way to
exactly.
access this. Yeah,
Yep.
I can see a lot of different ways that could be helpful.
Be used. Yeah. Yeah. The evolution of this is going to be that we're going to add the capability to control thermostats. So by end of July, we're going to have the capability that you're going to see another icon if you have the Nest, Ecobee, or Honeywell thermostats and other thermostats as we keep adding. But your guests will be able to adjust the temperature in the house. So raise the temperature, decrease the temperature, turn the thermostat off, right? So they won't be able to adjust your vacant mode, your guest mode settings, but they will be able to increase the temperature. So again, those are property manager requested capabilities that it just makes the guest experience better, easier and easier, right? So it's not just access, it's more features for the home. We've got some property managers that have so many smart devices like smart blinds. What's the other one? Like fireplaces that turn on and off,
Mm,
automated diffusers like aroma diffusers. So we're going to just keep adding icons for all that, light switches so you can turn lights on and off, things like that.
yeah.
So the app is just going to continuously evolve. Eventually, we're going to make a web version of it also that you don't need to log into a dashboard like this. So for the guests that do not want to download a mobile app, for example, we'll be able
Mhm.
to make it incredibly easy for them as well.
Just via a web link.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right. Thank you so much. I love that just a little glimpse, get a feel and the zest of what it looks like to be actually in the Jervis system platform. That is extremely helpful. So, thank you so much, Bobby. You really have educated us not only about Jervis, but just some good, solid information as far as I was not aware of that Dormakaba lock. So now I'm going to have to go Google that.
Oh, highly recommend it. Take a look at it. I've seriously thought about replacing my locks just because of the battery life.
Tell
It
me one more
saves.
time which one exactly that it is.
It's the Saffire EVO locks, Dormakaba Saffire EVO. And if you're interested, any of your users as well, just shoot us an email. We'll put you in touch with the sales rep that we work with. They're great. Yeah, they'll help you figure out the best solution for you.
Yeah, well, and maybe I'll get that information from you and I can attach it to the
Oh yeah,
show notes.
definitely. Yeah.
That might be really helpful as far as products mentioned during the show. So, Bobby, thank you. We'll go ahead and let you go. And everybody, thanks for joining us here on the bonus video portion of the show. We hope you learned quite a bit, and we will see you back on our next episode. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks for having me.